to National Fisherman Live. I'm Leslie Taylor. Here's some recent fishing news from around the coasts. Nearly half of all injuries aboard commercial freezer trawlers and about a quarter of the injuries on freezer longliner vessels operating off the coast of Alaska come from handling frozen fish, according to new research from Oregon State University. Researcher Devin Lucas analyzed 12 years of injury data and found that the majority of injuries in the freezer trawler fleet occurred in the factories and freezer holds, while the most common injuries in the freezer longliner fleet occurred on deck while working the fishing gear. Injuries from processing and handling fish were also common on the longliners. However, the data also showed that fishing on the freezer vessels was less risky than many other types of commercial fishing, which is one of the most dangerous occupations in the United States. The rate of injury on freezer trawlers was about the same as the national average for commercial fishing, while the rate aboard freezer longliners was about half the national average. The researchers are hoping to build from this research and explore other fishing-related injuries and prevention strategies. It's good news for Delaware's native mud crab. A decade after the introduction of the aggressive Asian shore crab, the local crab population is making a comeback. When the Asian shore crab, a non-native species, was introduced to the U.S. Atlantic coast in the late 80s, its population exploded. The invasive crab species has since extended its range from North Carolina to Maine. By 2001, non-native crabs made up 75% of the crab population in the rocky habitat along the Delaware and Maryland coasts, but it turns out the native crabs were not to be driven out entirely. Recent research by Charles Epifanio, a professor of marine sciences at the University of Delaware, found that the tables have turned in the habitat battle between the native versus the non-native crabs. By 2011, the Asian shore crab made up only 25% of the crab population in the region's rocky intertidal. The Asian shore crab's population decline after a population explosion doesn't fit the typical invasive species scenario, Bruce Richards, a former member of the Delaware Invasive Species Council, told the Delaware Journal. After last year's record salmon harvest, state fishery managers are encouraging fishermen to lower their expectations for 2014. Alaska's total salmon catch for all species in 2014 is projected to be just under 133 million salmon, only half of last year's haul. The bonanza of last year was due to a pink catch of 95 million, and because pink salmon run in on-off year cycles, it's pinks that will bring the 2014 numbers back down to earth. This year's pink catch is predicted to be about 75 million, a 67% decrease from last summer's 226 million. Other projected catches for this year call for a 14% increase in sockeyes to nearly 34 million, 4.4 million coho salmon, and nearly 20 million chums. For Chinook salmon, a catch of 79,000 is projected in areas outside of Southeast and Bristol Bay. The U.S. Senate Commerce Committee has passed a bill designed to help boost the West Coast groundfish fishery and protect maritime jobs. The Revitalizing the Economy of Fisheries in the Pacific Act, sponsored by Senator Maria Cantwell of Washington State, aims to help fishermen by ensuring they receive the same interest rates on federal loans as other businesses, and extends the length of these loans from 30 to 45 years. In addition, the legislation caps the fees that NOAA is able to collect from fishermen. In 2000, the Secretary of Commerce declared the West Coast groundfish fishery a federal fisheries economic disaster because of overcapitalization and overfishing. In 2003, Congress authorized buyback loans for the fishery to decrease fishing pressure and support a catch share program in the fishery. These loans help eliminate overfishing by buying out the permits of fishermen willing to leave the fleet. The remaining fishermen in the fleet have since been responsible for the loans, and many fishing businesses in the West Coast groundfish fishery have struggled with the high interest rates on these loans. Despite a harsh winter and new regulations, this year's Maine scallop season was the strongest in years. Final data for the 2013-2014 season, which runs from December to March, has not yet been compiled, but a strong December catch suggests season totals will top the 2012-2013 haul of more than 427,000 pounds, worth nearly $4.9 million, according to the Maine Department of Marine Resources. The catch for December, typically the strongest month of the year, was 138,450 pounds, up more than 14,000 pounds from December 2012. For more commercial fishing news and analysis, subscribe to National Fisherman Magazine, visit our website at www.nationalfisherman.com, or subscribe to our twice-weekly e-newsletter. For National Fisherman Live, I'm Leslie Taylor.